There was a woman named Coco who lived in Accra, the big capital city of Ghana. Coco was not born rich. Her mother sold cloth in the market. Her father worked in a factory. They were ordinary people with little money. But Coco was different. She was smart. Very smart. In school, she read every book. She studied hard when other children played. Her teachers said, "Coco will go far." And they were right. She went to the best school in Accra. She learned to speak English like a queen. She learned numbers and business. Everything she touched turned to gold. But as Coco grew up, she noticed something strange. The smarter she became, the lonelier she felt. If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my folktale story from. I want to know how far it has traveled. When Coco finished school, she did not sit at home waiting for a man to find her. No. She walked into the city with her head high. She got a job in a big company. She worked harder than everyone else. She came early. She left late. She never complained. Year after year, she climbed higher and higher. Other workers watched her rise like a bird flying up to the sky. She became a manager. Then she became a director. Then she became an executive. Money came. Nice clothes came. A beautiful apartment came. But something was missing. At night, when Coco sat alone in her apartment, she felt empty. She had everything a woman could want. Everything except someone to share it with. Everything except a good husband. One evening, Coco went to a big wedding in Accra. The hall was full of people. Music played. Everyone danced and laughed. Coco wore a beautiful dress. But when she sat down at her table, something had inside her. All around her, women sat with their husbands. They held hands. They whispered to each other. They laughed together. But Coco's seat beside her was empty. An old woman at the table looked at Coco and asked softly, "Daughter, why does a woman with so much sit alone?" Coco did not know what to say. The question stuck in her heart like a thorn. That night, she could not sleep. She kept thinking about that question. "Why am I alone?" she whispered to the dark room. "What is wrong with me?" The next morning, Coco decided to find a husband. She was 30 years old. She had waited long enough. She went to many places. She met men at work. She met men at church. She met men at parties and dinners. A rich banker asked her to marry him. He wore expensive watches and drove fast cars. But when Coco tried to make a small decision about their future, he became angry. "A wife does not speak," he said coldly. "A wife listens and obeys." Coco left him. She met a businessman next. He was handsome and kind at first. But he wanted to control everything she did. "Don't work so hard," he said. "Shrink yourself. Let me be the big one." Coco did not want to shrink. She wanted to grow. So she left him too. Coco met more men. A CEO. An importer. An exporter. A doctor. Each one seemed good at first. Each one told her he wanted an equal wife. But when the time came to marry, something changed inside them. They all wanted the same thing. They wanted a woman who would be small so they could be big. They wanted a woman who would be quiet so they could be loud. They wanted a woman who would disappear so they could shine. Coco realized something sad. These men did not want a wife. They wanted a slave dressed in a wedding dress. They wanted someone to serve them and ask no questions. One night, after another breakup, Coco cried alone in her room. She looked at her success. She looked at her money. She looked at her beautiful things. And she whispered, "Is there no good man left in this world?" One day, Coco made a big decision. She thought, maybe the problem is Accra. Maybe I need to go somewhere else. Maybe in another city, there are better men. So she packed her bags and traveled to Lagos, Nigeria. Lagos is a big, loud city full of energy and noise. Coco walked through the streets. She met new people. She went to parties and clubs. She met successful men in Lagos too. A big property owner. A music producer. A bank manager. But it was the same story all over again. The men in Lagos were like the men in Accra. They wanted power over women, not partnership with them. One night, a beautiful woman named Isha found Coco sitting alone in a restaurant. Isha was also alone. Isha was also successful. Isha was also tired of searching. "How long have you been looking?" Isha asked Coco quietly. Coco looked at this stranger and suddenly felt she could be honest. 5 years, Coco said. "I have looked for 5 years." Isha shook her head slowly. "I have looked for 10 years, she whispered. "And I have learned something. The problem is not you. The problem is them. Most men are not ready for a strong woman. They are afraid of her light. They want to blow it out." The two women sat together that night and talked like sisters. They talked about every man they had met. They talked about the promises that turned into lies. They talked about dreams that died. By the end of the night, both women were crying. But their tears were not sad tears. They were tired tears. The tears of women who had stopped hoping. Before Coco left Lagos, Isha said something that stayed with her. "Do not change yourself for a man. If he cannot love your whole self, he does not deserve any part of you." After Lagos, Coco traveled to Kampala, Uganda. She told herself, one more city. One more chance. Kampala is green and beautiful. The people are warm and friendly. Coco thought maybe here, things would be different. She made new friends. She went to church. She went to weddings and celebrations. She met more men. A politician. A hotel owner. A minister. But Kampala was not different. The same pattern followed her like a shadow. Men said they wanted equality but they wanted control. They said they wanted partnership but they wanted power. One day, Coco stood in a busy market in Kampala. She heard men talking. "These strong women are too much," one man said to his friend. "A woman like that cannot be a wife. She will never obey. She will never listen. She is finished for marriage." Coco heard these words. She felt them like stones hitting her heart. She realized something dark. The world was telling her that being successful made her unmarriageable. Back in Accra, Coco sat in her beautiful apartment and looked at her life. She was 35 years old now. She had traveled to 3 cities. She had met dozens of men. And she had found nothing but disappointment. That night, she made a decision. She decided to stop looking. She decided to accept her life alone. She bought herself flowers. She cooked her favorite meals. She spent time with her friends who loved her. She filled her days with meaning and purpose. She told herself, "I am enough. I do not need a man to be happy." And something magical happened. When Coco stopped searching desperately, she felt light again. She felt free. She felt like herself. For the first time in years, she smiled a real smile. A smile that came from deep inside, not from hope or expectation. Just from peace. She had chosen herself. And that choice made her beautiful in a way no man had ever made her feel. But the world did not leave Coco alone in her peace. One day, a woman came to Coco's office. Her name was Mama Esi. She was a matchmaker, someone who helped people find love for money. Mama Esi said, "Coco, I know your story. Every woman in Accra knows you are alone. I can help you. I can find you a husband in 1 month." Coco almost laughed. But Mama Esi continued, "The secret is simple. Stop being so strong. Stop being so loud about your success. Be small. Be quiet. Let a man feel like he is bigger than you. Then he will marry you." Mama Esi leaned close and whispered, "Pretend. Just pretend to be someone smaller. After marriage, you can be yourself again." Coco listened to this offer. A month to find a husband. It was tempting. Part of her was tired of being alone. But another part of her remembered something. She remembered Isha's words, "Do not change yourself for a man." Coco looked at Mama Esi and said quietly, "No. If I must pretend to be loved, then I do not want to be loved at all." 2 weeks after Coco refused Mama Esi, something unexpected happened. She was at a business conference in Accra. A man approached her during lunch. His name was Alfred Hakimi. He was not flashy. He did not wear expensive watches. He did not drive a fast car. He wore a simple shirt and simple shoes. He looked like any ordinary man. But when he spoke to Coco, something was different. He did not try to impress her. He did not brag about his success. Instead, he asked her questions. Real questions. "What do you love most about your work?" he asked. "What makes you laugh?" He listened carefully to every word she said. He did not interrupt. He did not correct her. He just listened like her words mattered. That conversation lasted 3 hours. When it ended, Alfred said simply, "Thank you for your time." Then he walked away. Coco sat there, surprised. No man had ever talked to her like that before. No man had ever listened like that. Days passed. Coco thought about Alfred often. But she did not see him again. Weeks passed. Then months. Coco began to think he was just a nice moment, nothing more. She stopped thinking about him. Then one morning, exactly 3 months later, Alfred appeared at her office. "Hello, Coco," he said. "I wanted to see you again." Coco was shocked. "Where have you been?" she asked. Alfred smiled gently. "I was giving you space. I wanted to know if you were looking for a man or if you were at peace with yourself. I came back to see if you were still the same woman I met. If you were still real, not pretending." Coco felt something shift inside her. This man understood. He had waited. He had given her time. He had not pushed or demanded. He had just waited quietly. "What took you so long?" she asked. Alfred looked at her seriously. A real man knows that a real woman cannot be rushed. She must be given time to know his heart. Alfred began to visit Coco often. But he never tried to change her. When she talked about her work, he was proud. When she made decisions, he supported them. When she was busy, he did not complain. He was like a quiet river that flows alongside a strong tree without trying to move it. One day, he asked to meet her family. Coco's heart beat fast. This was serious. She brought him to her mother's house. Her mother was nervous. Her father was careful. But Alfred sat with them like a son. He asked about their lives. He listened to their stories. He helped her mother in the kitchen without being asked. He spoke to her father about business with respect, not like he was trying to prove something. After he left, Coco's mother pulled her aside. "This one is different," her mother whispered. "I can feel it. He does not want to be bigger than you. He wants to stand beside you. That is rare, my daughter. Very rare. One night, Alfred and Coco sat under the stars on the balcony of her apartment. Alfred said, "Coco, I want to marry you. But not to complete you. You are already complete. I want to marry you because being beside you makes me want to be better. You do not make me small. You make me grow. I want a wife, not a servant. I want a partner, not a slave. I want someone who can challenge me and love me at the same time. That is you." Coco cried. But these were happy tears. Alfred did not ask her to shrink. He did not ask her to pretend. He asked her to be everything she was. A few weeks later, Alfred asked her to marry him in front of both their families. He did not kneel with expensive jewelry. He simply held her hand and said, "Will you marry me?" And Coco said yes. Not because she was desperate. Not because she was lonely. She said yes because she had found a man who loved her whole self. The wedding in Accra was beautiful. It was not big and flashy like the weddings Coco had attended when she was searching. It was simple and real and full of joy. Her mother cried happy tears. Her father looked proud. All the women who had talked to her about men and marriage were there, celebrating with her. An old elder stood up and said, "Today we see something rare. We see a strong woman and a strong man standing together as equals. Not one bigger than the other. Not one smaller. Just two whole people choosing each other. This is real marriage. This is real love." Years passed after that wedding. Coco and Alfred had children. They worked together. They built a life together. And Coco finally understood the lesson that had taken her so long to learn. The story you have just heard is a beautiful African tale I heard long ago. I'm telling you to wake your minds to this truth: never measure a good man by his money or his looks or how loud he is. Measure him by his kindness, his respect, and his willingness to let you be whole. A real man does not want a smaller woman. He wants an equal. And a real woman should never have to shrink to be loved.